This is a review of the IFI Zen Dac. So, let's unplug that too. Hopefully that doesn't break everything. So this is the device. Sorry, get that. So, this is a beautiful piece of equipment. And I mean beautiful as in aesthetically beautiful. I mean, this thing is like museum art. And, you know, I saw photographs on the internet and I saw some video reviews as well. And none of it does justice for the way this thing really looks and feels in person. I just can't stop touching this thing. It just it feels so nice in my hands, like the way they powder coated this aluminum or metal case on here. I'm guessing it's metal, and it looks like one piece even, like they extruded this out like a tube or whatever. But every piece of this is finished so nice. It has a little IFI kind of shadow engraved on there. The knob is super nice. So the knob is not stiff. It's very loose, but fluid and smooth. No incrementing. So you just turn it. But there's something about it is just has a very nice feel to it. Very quality feel. Same thing with the buttons on here. They're all really nice. It has unbalanced, a 1/4 inch, or I think they call it 6.5 millimeter or something like that, and then a balanced 4.4, which is what I use. It has RCA's in, USB in. There's your power. If you want to use an external power, it runs off the USB power. There's a balanced out, and so you might say, well, why do you have balanced 4.4 in the back? So what I'm seeing a lot of these manufacturers do now is that they'll use a balanced 4.4, and this is not really the right cable because this is a female. But they'll do a balanced 4.4 in here to an XLR to go out to a system that has XLR. Or you can do 4.4 to 4.4, but either way, it's a balanced connection to another device, like another amp or something. And then if you're going to do that, you want to set this to fixed so that the volume is at a fixed level, and then you control it through the other device or through, like maybe it's a Bluetooth device or something. Variable is using the knob in the front. Oh, and it does Mqa decoding. So a lot of people like this for Tidal, I've heard. I used to use Tidal. I found that it wasn't a real good value for me, so I have a huge library, and if I find something I like on the internet or in my searching for music, I just go and buy it usually. But so it's got this style USB. You guys have seen this before. It's kind of a funky connection. You don't see it too often, but it comes with that. And then I put it in USB in my computer. My computer identifies it right away as IFI, speakers by IFI by AMR HD USB audio. So you can see it lights up. And I'm going to shut one of the lights up here so you can see this thing, because it's kind of nice the way it lights up there. So you can see that really good. How's that? Yeah. And so it's got power base and it's got power matching. So power matching, what does that do? Power matching is if you've at set of sensitive IEMs and you put them in here, you can turn on this power matching button, and what'll happen is, well, at least hopefully what'll happen is, it will match the power output to the impedance of your headphones, your IEMs. Now, I listened to this with a lot, well, not a lot, but several different headphones. I listened with Mostly, what I found that I liked was my HD 800Ss. They sounded really good with this device, really good. In fact, if I play, so yeah, these sound really good, man, really good, and it's hard to find stuff in this range that sounds good with the HD 800S. The HD 800S has become one of my favorite headphones. The issue with them is they're not easily driven, and they are picky about what you match them with amplification wise. So that's been a little bit of a hassle. So I've been looking for a DAC amp that I could put on the nightstand in my bedroom, so that I could listen to these sometimes when I'm relaxing at night, and or one to also place with my stereo system, because even though my stereo system has a headphone out, as with most like Marantz and well, other brands of home stereo equipment, the headphone jack is kind of an afterthought, and so they don't have a lot of power usually. It is clean, and with some headphones it sounds good, but with the HD 800S it just doesn't drive it at all correctly. So I've been looking for something like that. Um, the This really sounds good with that, and it really sounds good with IEMs. Now I also tried several IEMs, and I thought, I'm going to try a pair of sensitive IEMs because it's got this power matching. I want to see how that works, and I put in my Fearless S8Zs. Those are very, very sensitive. And I set the power matching, and it did something really weird. When I turned the volume, so the volume started at zero because I want to make sure I didn't blow them up or hurt my ears, right? So volume turned down to zero, put them in, plugged them in, started turning the volume up, and at the very low volume, it kept going back and forth. Like one earpiece would work and then not work and then not work, and then like the right one would work and the left one would work, but not at the same time. They were kind of cutting in and out. And then as I got up another notch, they both came on and they worked. Now, I tried with the power matching on and with the power matching off. And honestly, with both of those, there was a background hiss on the S8Zs, which are, like I said, sensitive IEMs. Now, I don't get that hiss with any of my THX components, but like the 789 from Drop or the FiO M11 Pro. I also don't get a hiss on those from the ADI2 DAC. Now, those things are all much more expensive than this, so I'm not trying to compare this to those. But I do listen to that equipment, and I don't get a hiss out of the IEMs with it, but I did get a hiss with this. With the headphones, no, the headphones were nice and quiet, no problem. Like the 800 S's, they have 300 ohms, so they're high impedance. So chances of you getting a hiss are going to be slim on something that's delivering decent power like this is. So this IEM matching, I didn't really find it working, or power matching. I really didn't find it working too well in my testing. Maybe for others that use this, they would find that to work okay. I just didn't. You guys are gonna have to excuse me. I've got a head cold right now. It's kind of wrecking my voice. The single-ended works great. The balanced gives you a little more power, but as far as sound quality goes, I really didn't hear any difference. I tried headphones in both of these, and it sounded great in both of them. So power matching, kind of weird. I don't know if it actually works. Maybe it does work for certain things. I don't know what, but I didn't really. I had a weird experience with it. Bass boost, or true bass, they call it. I wish they'd just call it loudness. That's what it is. It's loudness. You guys remember stereo systems? They still have it. They kind of hide it nowadays, but it used to be stereo receivers you'd buy for your house had a loudness button on them, and it just bumped up everything in the lower end typically, and made it sound a little fuller and richer. So you could turn your stereo down for that kind of background noise in your home, that background music playing, and you could hit the loudness button, and it would kind of like give it a fuller, richer sound, even though it was down really low. That is what this button does. This button bumps up bass and sub bass and lower end mids is what it does. It works really well. Now for some of the songs I listened on, I really enjoyed having that in there. In fact, I would say that button could be renamed rock and roll, because for rock and roll music, it worked great. I listened to a Jimi Hendrix remastered album I've got, and it sounded just phenomenal with Jimi Hendrix. Beatles, or I'm sorry, not Beatles, but Paul McCartney and Wings. I listened to some of his songs that I really like, and his stuff. I love Paul McCartney and Wings music, but the way that music's recorded, it just sounds better on a home stereo system. Typically I don't like it on IEMs and headphones, and it's because of bass and the fullness of the sound, that kind of stuff. So, but I found with this loudness button and the headphones, it sounded really good. I really enjoyed listening to it. As far as, definition and detail, very good. I mean, again, for this price point, it's $129. Definition and detail were very good. Musical separation was very good. Now, I compared it to, because I have a balanced out on the drop, the 789. So I've got my ADI into the 789, and I listened to that, and I listened to this. And because I have them both plugged into the same computer, I can just go to the speaker control on the computer or the input control and flip it really easily to one or the other, and hear right away the difference. So it was literally like seconds. I just kept the headphones on, and I just plugged from here to there and flipped over that. It just took about 3-4 seconds. It was really, really fast. And so I could really hear the difference. And I'll say that the difference between this and the output of the 789 was stark. I mean, there was a very obvious difference. And the 789 ADI combo sounded much, much better. Not how should I say this? That combination of 789 and the RD8, that's like a $2,000 package right there, right? That's like $2,000 of equipment. So we're comparing that, or I was comparing that, to $129 IFI Zen Dac. And it wasn't, $800 better. I mean, if we're using dollars and cents as the way to judge what's better, I mean, I would then say if you put both of those in front of me, those systems in front of me, this one and the RME ADI2 DAC and the drop combination, and put them side by side, and I was plugging back and forth at some kind of trade show or even a store, and I didn't know how much they cost. That was hidden from me. I didn't have any preconceived notions. I would say that, and you told me that drop combination was $2,000. Well, and then you said, okay, guess the cost of this device. I'd say, well, I mean, based on how well made it is and how, solid it is, and the quality of the build, and of course the sound quality, I'd say this thing's, it's got to be $1,500, right? I mean, that's what I would say, not knowing anything, because it sounds that close to being as good as the other ones. There's, like I said, there's a difference. The ADI2 was more spacious. Detail was better, and not that I could hear. It's just that the detail sounded better. It wasn't. I could hear the same amount of detail. On the songs I test for detail, the detail I heard on this is the same details I heard on the ADI2, and vice versa. There was no difference in the detail as far as what I could hear. The difference was the quality of sound reproduction on that detail. So things like drops of water hitting the ground, like raindrops, I could hear those clearly on both devices, but it sounded more realistic on the ADI2. So that was the kind of difference. It wasn't that it was more detailed, it was that it was a better sound in the detail, but not vastly better, And this is, my opinion, right? My, ears and my brain interpreting it. So, you might hear it and go, no, I like the IFI better. The IFI sounds fantastic. I mean, for $129, I kind of couldn't get over how good it sounded. It sounds really good. I kept forgetting. I was comparing it to a lot of other more expensive stuff, and I kept forgetting how cheap this was because I was like, I can hear that, and yeah, I can hear it here too, but it sounds a little bit better on the other one, But the other one was, $1,000 more than this, and I mean, this would make that perfect little, next to my bed, on the nightstand, headphone listening thing. The problem is that it uses this cable, right, to connect your USB. So I'd have to get an adapter if I want to use my phone or something. And what I really want is something like this with Bluetooth built in, because I just want a Bluetooth from my tablet over to this, or my phone over to this, because all I'm doing is sending ones and zeros. So I'm not worried about the quality of the sound. This is going to take those ones and zeros and turn it into an analog signal, and that's what it's doing right now. That's what it's doing with this USB connection right here. It's taking the ones and zeros the computer's sending out into here, the signal. It's changing that digital signal into an analog signal, and then putting it out through the output to the headphones. So Bluetooth or wired doesn't really make a difference. Now you could have Bluetooth signal that drops in and out and gets so there's some issues with that, of course, but that aside, the sound quality is more than good enough to be pleasing to me. So I was hoping for Bluetooth. I wish they made this with Bluetooth. There are other devices out there that are in the same price category that do the same thing as this that are Bluetooth, and that would be my only complaint, is that it's not Bluetooth. This thing is, like I said, it's beautiful. You really need to kind of see it in person and hold it in your hands to truly appreciate it and feel like the quality, like how the knob works. I mean, once you do that, I don't know if I want to keep this. I really do. I'm just trying to figure out where to put it. I'm thinking I might put it into my stereo system and use it there, because it powers and sounds so good on those HD 800Ss. Like I said, though, with IEMs, I did get a hiss in songs. I'm not going to go over a list of songs. All the songs I listened to sounded really good on this. It doesn't, don't be fooled, because I have seen a couple of reviews where people were drooling on this thing as far as the sound, like this is as good as anything out there. And that's not true, okay? So if you've already got a very expensive DAC amp combo and you're trying to test out some new stuff or trying to find a new sound signature, you might be disappointed if you get this, because it doesn't sound as good as higher end stuff that I've listened to. And again, that's my opinion, but it really doesn't. It sounds fantastic, though. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to make it sound like I'm putting this down. For its price point, it definitely plays above its price point. A lot of people say that kind of stuff nowadays with different devices. A lot of companies try to use that in their sales pitches. This plays up in $1,000 items when it's actually only 200. So, and not always is that true. With this, it really does play up. Now, how much, I don't know, but I really like it. I would keep it totally, and I might keep it and put it in my stereo system. I don't know yet. It's just I really wanted something Bluetooth and something with USB that was easy to connect to, my FiO M11 Pro. That was actually what I wanted to use, because that has my whole music library on it. It has 70% of my music, but the music that I listen to. So for $129, this really is a solid, well-made, nice piece of equipment that sounds excellent, really excellent. If you already have like a $500, $600, $700 system, if you've got like an SMSL, or if you've got the ADI2, or a drop feeding from your, a DAC or something, those are going to be better. In my opinion, from what I've tested, they're better, but not by a huge margin. But there's definitely, for people that get a little crazy about it like I do, and are looking for that last step, that last little bit that I can pull out of the audio equipment, I'm not going to get that from this, but this is very enjoyable. So For $129, 100% I can recommend this. This is a good buy. Just remember, it's not Bluetooth. You're going to have to use a USB connection or RCA. And the other thing is it doesn't come with a power supply. So which I don't really understand. Well, I guess what the reason you'd want a power supply. Here's a scenario. You're going to use your phone to connect to it. And if I plug my phone into here, it's going to draw power from my phone. I'm guessing it would probably crush the phone battery pretty quickly. So if you're going to do that, like what I was hoping to do with it, you'd want to buy the power supply. I don't like they don't give you the power supply. They should give it to you. I mean, for $129, you can get a pretty inexpensive power supply that will work just fine. I bought less expensive stuff with a little 5 and 12 volt power supply. And this is DC 5 volts, yeah, because it's using USB, which is 5 volts. So they could have included that, I think. But either way, this is a really beautiful piece of equipment. I mean, it really is really well made, really nice. The power matching button, I had a little bit of a weird experience with that. You can try it out and see what kind of experience you have. But overall, I really like the device. It's just that it's not Bluetooth and it's got this kind of weird USB setup. So I think is all I really have to say about this. And I will say that, if you want to get this thing, you can always order it on Amazon and test it out. Just buy it with Prime so that you can, return it. And if you don't like it, but I think it's really well made and I think you'd be really happy with it. Anyway, hope this helps you out.